the world of Orthodox Judaism in London is the background to this story of illicit love based on the novel by Naomi Alderman. The film begins with a rabbi explaining the difference between angels, beasts and humankind, man and woman. Man and woman have the ability to choose. And then suddenly the rabbi collapses and dies. In New York, photographer Ronit Krushka, Rachel Weisz, rushes to London. It turns out the rabbi was her estranged father. She arrives at the home of childhood friend David, Alessandro Nivola, an outstanding pupil of her father's who's due to take over his role as rabbi. She's surprised to find him married to Esti, Rachel McAdams. It appears that Ronit and Esti have had a past together. This is a really moving film in many ways, not least because of the fabulous performances from Rachel McAdams and particularly Alessandro Nivola. I'm not so sure of Rachel Weisz. She looks impassive and conveys very little. McAdams, on the other hand, looks impassive but conveys so much. The film is the work of Chilean director Sebastián Lelio, whose most recent film was the Oscar winner for Best Foreign Film, A Fantastic Woman. With this, his first English-language film, he delivers in narrative and performance and depicts this Orthodox world respectfully. Film does look a trifle drab, though, with the design and Danny Cohen's cinematography creating a world of little colour. Graham.
Well, I have to disagree with you about a lot of things in your little summary.
Go for it.
Well, I didn't find it drab in the slightest. I thought it conveyed the repressiveness of that world, you know, with a great sense of exactitude. And the way he moves his camera inside those buildings is absolutely astonishing.
Terrific cinematographer, yeah.
It is quite brilliantly done. And Rachel Weisz is absolutely superb. I mean, how can you say that she's drab in this film? She's
I didn't say she was drab.
No, you didn't say she was drab.
I
but
said she was expressionless.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There are expressions. She's so expressive in this film.
They're
both
see
so
her
expressive.
Acting or looking. I just find her sometimes a little bit self-conscious.
Oh, I didn't find her self-conscious in this at all, and none of them were self-conscious.
Did you like the film, though?
I loved the film. I was totally entranced by this film. In fact, there is a kind of trance-like element to it because so much is simmering under the surface that both those women and David, the husband, are kind of living in trances. They don't know where their lives are going. There's this whole sense of conformity and repression on the one hand, and there's this sense of things totally forbidden that are bubbling just away underneath. So it's a trance, strange, beguiling world that they're living in.
Well, it's interesting that, you know, there's that unsettling atmosphere that's created when Ronit arrives at David's house, you know, for this wake for her father. You know, I just, I thought that was so well done. I mean, I think he's a really good director. And I don't know that you had to emphasise the drabness of this world. I mean,
well, I
just thought it was a little bit overdone.
Drab. I found it alive with passion, and I love all the things.
Certainly that.
There's the elephant in the room, of course, is the sex scene, the extraordinary sex scene, which is already causing all sorts of fusses all around the world. Particularly, not only in social media, but there are stories being written in major newspapers about the way that the two women have sex in this film, the sapphic, shall we say, sex, which is pretty extreme.
I thought it was beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
When she actually, shall we say it, she actually spits in her mouth. That is one of the most erotic things that I've ever seen on film or possibly in real life. It was really an extraordinary moment.
I wondered why.
And I love the way that the two women are dressed in this. The costumes are wonderful because they're so heavily clothed in coats and gloves and scarves, and all they want to do is rip everything off all the time. I thought that was a wonderful detail in this film. And it's, again, a sense of just the passion that's just bubbling away underneath this. This is so alive, this film.
Yes.
It's so interesting. And the look at this really repressive, religious, almost like a cult in London.
Oh, but it's done so... It is so respectful of that community. And I like that, actually. And I thought the film was ultimately so compassionate. So I would give this 4 stars.
I'm giving it 4.5. I love this film.
It's insane that you're here.
This is my house we're talking about. I keep it in order.